Hello, this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. So if you watched my recent video on different ways of colouring images, I created these three kingfishers and the owl. And today I would like to create two cards with these birds, but I've also done a few more from different sets, and I just wanted to show you these first. So this one in the last video, the kingfisher and the owl, they are from this set. These are the Christmas birds for the RSPB, and I've also used, not in the last video but since then, these three stamps here, the birds here, and the foliage. And I also found in my stash another RSPB set. I think these came with a magazine. So I had this robin here, then this little birdie here, which I think I coloured in as a grated, the the bullfinch here, and this one I coloured in as a goldfinch. This one I think I coloured in as another grated. So I used these different images. Two of these actually came with a die, but I'd forgotten about that, so I fussy cut them, although I'm not a good fussy cutter, you'll see in a moment. But I've also recently bought this one here. That's the Creative Stamping Magazine 129, and that comes with loads of birds. And I used this image here with the plant pots, and then this robin here, and I think that's the robin as well. So I had a few things in my stash that I could use for this. So as with the the last video, I used my Kuretake Zig brush pens, but I also used, for all of these here, I used my Black Widow colour pencils. I did not include them in my last video. These are really straightforward colouring pencils. I've got these two sets, but they do various sets. Some Calcutta did a video, I think, about colouring in with colouring pencils, and I think she's got these as well. They are really soft. They give a quite lovely image, very vibrant colours, the ones that I've chosen. So that's why I didn't record it, but this is how I coloured these, and a sort of mixed colours as well, if I may show you this. So for the green, I went in with one colour and then just fill it in with another colour. These are very forgiving. I will also add, once I've glued these down and used them, I will add some white accents or maybe even some gold. But yeah, they do give a nice finish as well. So I'm making some space on my craft table, and then I'll show you how we create the card bases for these two cards. For the first card, I have cut two panels from plain cardstock. I decided to go with this orange because I thought it worked really nicely here with the kingfisher, but also with the other more vibrant colours. By the way, for this card, I have used all these stamps from the RSPB set that I just showed you. Let me just grab it again. So just because the style of these all goes together, I found that some of my other birdies, the style didn't go that well with that stamp, so I'm keeping these separate. So, and for the pattern cardstock, I have found this. This is just some pattern paper, and I believe it came with a magazine that these stamps came with. So if you recognize this, you will have, I think, a set of pattern paper in that. And I chose this one because it's got these almost orange berries, and that goes nicely with the background. And it's sort of neutral. It's not necessarily a Christmas card. Could be a bit wintry, but even works for autumn, and I thought that that went well with these stamps. So I don't even know whether I've just mentioned it. So the main card is 11 inches by 6 inches, and then you need a panel that is 6 by 6 square. And for the pattern card, you need two pieces that are 5 3/4 square, and that worked nicely with the size of this paper here. So the big panel, you need to score that. I will do this off camera, but put it sideways, and you score down here at 1/2, 1 inch, 1 1/2, 2 inches, and 2 1/2, and then I just like to flip it over and do the same from the other side rather than remembering more measurements. By the way, this card is based on the, I think she calls it a Springy box card by Sam Calcott, so I'm going to link to her video below. So I'm quickly going to do my scoring, and I'm also already sticking the panels here on this piece here on the square and in the square that appears here. So I will do this quickly off camera. So I've stuck my 2 panels down here. I'm just leaving those to dry. As I said before, I'm not an expert fussy cutter. I'm really rubbish at it actually. I usually use my rounded nail scissors here. I find them really useful, but I've also got this spring insisted Fisker scissors. They are very good as well. They're worth an investment if you do a lot of cutting. But to remedy this a little bit, because if I put this on the orange or the patterned cardstock, these really pop a lot. I have got my blending brush here, and I'm just using the vintage photo oxide, and I will just go along the edges and take this white off. I might have to ink that up again, yeah. So I'm just picking up the ink, testing it here. So what I'm going to do is just going around the edges here. It's a bit tricky. I might have to get a little stencil brush to go in between, or you can, sorry, if I'm going to go off camera, you can go in from the bottom. And that immediately takes the harshness of it if I pop it on here now. So it's not as harsh without me covering the image too much. With it being actually just green there, I could probably even go over the image. But where you've got white bits, you definitely do not want to colour those in. So keep that in mind. That actually works quite nicely here to colour that in. So if I just show you that again here, it just pops so much less, and that's worth doing. So I'll be doing this off camera here. The other thing I will be doing off camera, on this single panel here, I will cut an aperture. Any shape is fine. I could cut a heart maybe out of this. The only thing you don't want to do is go too close to the edges, because you want to keep half an inch on either side where we have the folding mechanism in a moment. So don't go too close. And I know I want some of these images here on the front, so I want a bit of space to stick these down. So, but it's up to you what size you pick. You could pick a square. I was even thinking about a hexagon, so anything is fine. So I'll be doing this off camera as well quickly, and blend over this here, over the images, and then I'll be back. One thing I forgot to mention is I also put a little dot with my black gel pen where the eyes are. I find that always makes a difference, especially sometimes with the colours, with the pens, the actual stamped image gets a bit dull. So I just did that on all the images and just need to leave them to dry. So for the actual springy pop-up mechanism, all you need to do, let me just lift the camera up a little bit, is fold on these score lines now. So the first one goes in. If I say the first one, that's the closest to the square. And then fold outwards, inwards. So basically mountain, valley, mountain, valley. And the last one goes inwards again. I've got a very lightweight cardstock, so mine's actually just bending a little bit. So the important thing is that once you've folded them, you also burnish them. So I do that on all of these lines, which gives it a bit more structure again than if you have that issue. I think this one is just a 230 GSM. So, and I'll do the same on the other side now. So basically folding this one inwards and then repeating the steps with the other folds. When you have folded all the score lines, this is what you get. So, and all you need to do then is basically glue this here on the front. You can, if you wanted to, just taper these at the top a little bit, but it should actually, if you measure correctly, it should just fit on the top. Also, if you've got patterned paper, I might have to check mine, but I think mine's non-directional, so that would work fine either way. What I like to do though is some crafters like to stick it all together and then put the images in the back and just gluing it down, because you can see the aperture. But I think what I will do is just test it here, what I want in the front, what I want in the back, and then I will take the front off again, glue it all down. I find that a bit easier, especially when you want to move things around. So I just have a little play with these, where I want to put them, obviously where they don't sit on paper, you don't put any glue on them. Also, that's a little tip, if you know you want to stick it down like this, you could turn it over, mark with a pencil where you want to stick it down, and then you know where to put glue and where you don't want the glue. And I've always find that the larger images are actually better in the back and the smaller better in the front, but that's really up to you. Keep in mind, this one you can already see it on camera, casts a bit of a shadow, so you don't want that too much to the side. You could put a sentiment here in the middle. I haven't quite decided yet what I want to do with regards to a sentiment, or whether I just want to leave it like this. And then you can always put a panel on the back and leave your greetings there. So I shall quickly assemble this off camera, because I want to keep this short, because I want to show you another way of having a springy box card. My first card is finished. I decided less is more, so I just added these two birds here in the front and the kingfisher there in the back. And I also added a little sentiment here from the paper pack. I just cut this out here and put it on some matching orange cardstock there, and I just popped it down flat. I could have put some foam pads on there, but I wanted to keep this card flat. So when I glued this together, I realized ideally if you folded it correctly it should fall completely flat, but I just glued this down here matching the actual strip here. So when I fold this down here, it does want to warp a little bit, because I think I need to reinforce these lines a little bit differently. But if you do it accurately, it should not be an issue. Mine, I can see it from the side now. I haven't done it 100%, but it doesn't matter, because if I put it maybe in a box card anyway and hand it over like this, or make a little gift bag for it, it doesn't matter. So that's my first card, but always keep it real. These things happen and it doesn't matter. So I now want to show you the second way of making a card like this, but it will have a few more layers. For the second card, you need a piece of cardstock that's 11 inches long and 7.5 inches wide. And you score that, let me just turn this round, at 1/2 inch and 1, and then I would turn the piece round and do it at 1/2 inch and 1 again. So you score along the long sides. And after you've done that, you cut it down in the middle at 5.5 inches, and then that gives you 2 equal panels. That's the easiest way to do it. You can cut it apart first, but then you have to do the scoring again. So if you do it in one go, that works best. And then for the back, you need one more panel that's 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches square. So this gives us 2 layers for apertures and 1 layer for the back. I have cut my 3 panels, or first obviously 2 panels, and then I cut this in half from some green cardstock. Again, this is not very thick, so I have chosen some thicker pattern cardstock to mat these, and these are 5 1/4 inches square. So I've got 3 of these, and they all go into the middle of these squares. This one obviously is obvious, and then obviously by scoring these you create a square in the middle. So I'm going to glue these down. What I didn't say before, because we cut an aperture out of these 2 panels, same as with this card before, make sure you've got glue everywhere. You don't want to be too random with it because you don't want the paper to pop off here after you've cut the aperture. So I will do this, I will glue this down, and then the other thing I will do off camera with these two panels that have got the score lines, I will cut 2 apertures in these, but one aperture will be bigger than the other one. So I start with a bigger one. Again, it's up to you whether you want this in the middle, maybe you want this will be the front panel, maybe you want a sentiment at the bottom, would like to have this higher. And I will do this off camera, and then I'll show you how we align the aperture or the die for the aperture on the second panel to actually have this matching. I have cut out my first shape here, and now I'm going to put this on top of the second layer. Let me just move this out of the way. Oh, by the way, don't throw this away. This will be useful, I think, for an Easter card. Same with the round one there. I'll be using that one again. So I'm going to align this now here on the card underneath, and then I know where to put my smaller nesting die. And I'm going to eyeball this. You could measure this, and then I can just tape this down. By the way, I like to put my tape on the areas that I don't use for the card. So if I ever happen to tear away any cardstock, it's on the piece that can be lost if necessary. So I can take the top layer off now and cut this now. By the way, as before with the other card, don't get too close to the edge because otherwise this cardstock will show. So I quickly cut this off camera, and then I will show you how to fold the individual pieces. Oh, and another thing I forgot to say, this one's inspired by a video from Harry, from Harry's craft room. I'm going to link to her video below as well. So for the folding, you fold this line here closest to the square backwards, or turn it over and turn it into a mountain fold like that. I've just mislaid my boned folder. Bear with me. Found it. So again, fold it properly, burnish it, and then the other score line you fold the other way. This time I'll be a bit more mindful to do it correctly. So you basically end up with a shape like that, and you do that on this side as well, and the same on this piece. So I just realized I've got a cut here. I'm wondering whether I've got a blemish on my cutting board, but never mind. I'll be covering that, I think, with a little birdie. So I'll quickly do this off camera, and then I'll show you how we assemble the card. I have found out what caused the cut on the pattern cardstock. I had a little slither of paper left on here on my cutting board, so always check your cutting board, make sure it's clean, maybe use some alcohol on it. This one's even got some glue on it. I need to make that one of my New Year's resolutions, to keep my cutting boards a bit cleaner. I like to change them. I always label my new ones top, and I use the more scruffy ones for the bottom. I'm also thinking about investing in this magic mat that I've seen in adverts, but I'm doing a bit more research before I buy anything new. So now you've got these two panels, and all you need to do is you take the bigger one and you glue it on top of the smaller one, so you get this sort of tunnel look. So when you fold it together, can you see where you glue it down? So put glue on here, fold it over, and then just put it onto your front panel. Make sure it's aligned properly here, not wonky. And then when you've done that, or you could start gluing this one on the back panel first, that's up to you, but you basically stagger them like this. So you've got a springy card as well, but you've got another layer in there that allows you then to attach birds or whichever embellishments you have in different layers. I think this time I will assemble it first, and then pop the birdies in. I've gone for these here now, the robins. I might pop a sentiment here in the middle. These were from the magazine stamp set. And the reason why I chose the pattern paper is because I like the orange and the green with that, so I thought this would go really nicely. It looks a bit busy, but I think once I've put the birds down it might be less busy. Or I'm just thinking whether I should have the bigger bird in the back there. I could always cut those pots off, put them in the front, and then basically tie the background in with the foreground. I might actually do that. This one could peep in from that level there. This time I think I'm not going around the edges. I think I'll leave them white as they are. This one could do with a bit more colour, this paper card, I think, as in a bit more white paper, a bit more highlights. So yeah, I will assemble this off camera and then just show you the finished card. This is my second card finished. I just wanted to show you I added the birthday sentiment from this bird set here. And yeah, I decided to put both the robins here on this side because they're facing the same way. I put the plant pots down here, and then I was missing something for the second layer, and that's why I decided to put the sentiment on that second layer. So again, you've got the springy box effect there, but yeah, slightly different. I was thinking after I created this, I could have, with a second layer here, I could have left this half an inch longer on either side and pop this on the back of the card, and then you would have an extra spring in there rather than sticking it down like this. But either way, I like it. And again, this one folds flat. This should fit in a 6x6 card because envelope, sorry, because it's a 5.5 by 5.5 card base. This one I can still move a little bit. So yeah, but I think this is really nice as well. And then you've got this sort of tunnel look with this one, and that was the first one here, where you've basically got deeper tunnel but only one layer in there. But with this mechanism you could do the same thing. This basically has a similar mechanism but in two parts, and you could put more layers in between here if you wanted to, and just have a single panel there without anything. But yeah, I like them both, and I like the use of my homemade ephemera there. But I showed you this in my last video. You can also buy ephemera to decorate these cards if you don't want to make your own. If you like these cards, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, I usually post on a Wednesday and a Sunday. You might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.